Hey everyone, welcome to Bricks LA Builder Spotlight. I'm Aileen and I'm here with Bill Vollbrecht. Hi,
Hello.
how's it going?
Doing good. How are you?
I am good, thank you very much. I see you have some Lego behind you. I'm guessing you are a Lego fan. I
I am a Lego fan. This is my Lego studio.
already know. You have a wonderful, exciting history both with Lego and with being an AFOL. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you got into Lego as an adult and how that translated into your other professional Lego experiences.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, as a kid, I liked Lego and grew up playing with it. And this is in the 1970s, so I'm kind of dating myself a little bit. But then Star Wars came out, so kind of Lego got pushed to the side and forgot about it until 1990. I was in a Toys R Us. Bye. Sorry, Toys R Us. Miss them so much. No, I was at Toys R Us looking for a birthday gift for my little brother. And I just happened to walk past the Lego aisle, and in like the 10 years since I had stopped playing with Lego, there was so much new stuff where I was like, whoa. I mean, we're talking when I was playing, they didn't have minifigures. And also now they had all the theme sets, the castle and the pirates. And when I saw the Black Seas Barracuda, that was kind of the thing that clicked for me, where I was like, holy crap, this is really awesome. And here I am, like a 19-year-old in the toy aisle holding this big pirate ship, just kind of like, wow, oh my God, look, a monkey, treasure chest. This is so cool. And I was like really debating buying it because, when you're a teenager, you don't play with toys. That's ridiculous. And I was like really just fighting with myself, trying to decide if I would actually spend money on Lego as an adult, 19 years old. And finally, this guy standing next to me, this older dude, he's like, hey, it's okay. I'm a doctor. I play with Lego too. And I'm like, what? Oh, it's not for me. And I ran away. So the first few years of being an adult fan of Lego, I would actually buy Lego sets, and I'd always buy gift wrap with them. So I'd use the excuse, oh yeah, these aren't for me. This is for my little brother, And it took a while to come out of the Lego closet, so to say. And as a Lego fan in the early '90s, you kind of build your own things and enjoy it and have fun with it. But this is also pre-internet days, so there wasn't a lot of community out there, and you kind of felt like this big weirdo, like this is like secret thing you can't tell anybody about because I play with Lego, But then eventually some friends find out and they're like, that's really cool, and oh, you made this, and so you build up your skills and you get a little better and you do more stuff with it. And I was kind of inspired by, I don't know if you guys remember the old the Brick Clicks magazines that Lego would send out in the Lego Club.
Oh yeah.
And they would talk about the master model builders and how these are these really beautiful models they would create in this workshop in Connecticut. And I thought, well, that's a really cool job. I would love to do that someday. And go to find out they were building a park in Legoland, California, down in San Diego. And so I thought, well, maybe I should try out for that. And sent off my stuff, my resume, my portfolio. And if you look at the stuff I built then versus what I do now, it was pretty crude, but it was still, very sculptural and big stuff. And they said, hey, yeah, you're great, but we're not really hiring. Everything's being built overseas, but keep us in mind down in the future. And a couple of years later, I was actually working as a mailman, delivering the mail, U.S. Postal Service, right? And a buddy of mine who was in San Diego said, hey, I just saw they were actually had a classified ad of the newspaper looking for master model builders. You should apply. And I did. And there was about 50 people applied for the one job. And I just kind of kept pestering them and said, look, I'm the guy. And they said, okay, we'll hire you. And so I started in the year 2000 as a Legoland master model builder and did that for about 5 years and built some of the stuff for the parks and really enjoyed it and loved it. But some outside circumstances caused me to eventually leave the company for a couple of years. Did some freelance work. And when I was doing freelance, they called me asking me if I could come in and work on a project they were shorthanded on. And it was actually building a new Christmas tree star for their big 30-foot tall Duplo Christmas tree they have at Christmas time. And I built it. It was fun being back in the shop and seeing all my old friends. And then I came across a buddy of mine who I worked with kind of on some projects, who was one of the park designers for Legoland Germany and Legoland California. And he's like, oh, you're back. I'm like, well, I'm just here temporarily. He's like, no, you're back. Don't go anywhere. And I was like, why? And he's like, we want you to be the art director for this park. And that was like mind blowing. It was, I didn't have the experience. I don't have a college degree. I can draw a little bit and I know Lego. And they said, no, we think you have the ability to do this. So stick with the park. Don't go anywhere. and it might take a year or so, but we eventually will give you that position. And sure enough, they did. So the first thing I designed for the Legoland California that wasn't models was the Land of Adventure Egyptian themed area, and the big dark ride with like the laser blasters.
Yeah, yeah.
That led to then designing the Legoland Water Park, which then led to the company decided to start expanding, because now at this point the Lego parks were sold to the Merlin Company, who was really looking to expand their portfolio of parks.
Mm-hmm.
Decided that they wanted to start building new Legoland parks. The last one they had opened was in 2002 in Germany, and so they asked me if I'd be interested in taking on the creative director role for that, and I said absolutely. So with my 7-8 years doing that for them, I designed Legoland Florida, Legoland Malaysia, Legoland Dubai, and the majority of Legoland Japan before I left a few years ago. And,
Wow.
yeah, so I've kind of been the gamut of all things Lego, one way or the other.
That's amazing. That's like a roller coaster that just keeps going up, a Lego roller coaster that just keeps going up. Like,
Yeah,
what a cool.
it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for designing some of the coolest stuff in the parks, by the way.
Absolutely, it's fun doing it.
I'm a big Adventurers fan, so of course I like the Egypt stuff.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a great project.
So you also did the iconic when you were working as a park designer. I just have to mention because I think it's super cool. You designed that iconic entryway into some of the parks,
Yes,
which
that was my first theme park design project outside being a model builder. This was when I was working as a master model builder. The friend who gave me the job as art director, he would come by the shop once in a while. This is when they were designing Legoland Germany. And then he would grab bricks off the shelf and make little mock-ups of ride vehicles, like the train they have in Billund in Germany, or some other things that would look like it's made of Lego bricks. And he came to us and said, look, we're looking for a new entry into the parks, like a new archway. And we have one here in California, but it's these kind of two separate towers are kind of off to the side and kind of forgotten about. We want to do something that brings them together. So could a couple of you guys take a couple turns at it and see what we can come up with? And so it was me and one other guy, Darren Ward. The guy actually trained me as a model builder, and he's featured pretty heavily in the original Lego book, if everyone has that one. And he made one, but it was like really complex and crazy and expensive. And mine was a little more simple and stripped down, but what it was kind of a mashup of the different lands. There was a little bit of castle, a little bit of town, a little bit of Technic. And it was a very simple design, but they loved it, and they ended up building it as the entry arch into Legoland Germany. And so I ended up going to Germany for opening day and seeing it in person, which was very exciting. And being the first person to walk into a park is always a fun experience. And since then, they've used that same design for Florida, Malaysia. They finally updated the one in Denmark. It has that now. I think the only park that doesn't have it is Windsor. I think, Windsor, England, I think has their old design, but the rest of the parks in California. But then all the Lego parks worldwide have that as their entry point.
Wow, I think that's amazing because your design is what greets people when they come to the park. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, I was in the Legoland Bill Instagram page, and they had that on there. I'm like, hey, I designed this, and they're like, what? Who are you? What did this? This is amazing. So it's kind of a cool moment to be acknowledged by the original Legoland park.
Absolutely, that's very, very cool. So you've had such a wide and varied experience with, like you said, you grew up loving Lego and building and doing the teenager, oh no, I like Lego but I don't build with it kind of thing, which is totally okay. If you're a teenager out there, it's okay, you can build with Lego. We love it. Everybody loves it. Everybody secretly loves Lego. That's the trick that nobody tells you until later.
Well, the difference from when I started versus now we have the online community, which anybody can join, and it's incredible. The teen AFOLs that are out there, TFOLs, they're doing some phenomenal work, and they have the resources that none of us dreamed of, 20, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's really exciting to see the stuff they come up with,
So what I find amazing is, on top of all this amazing experience that you have and the cool stuff you've built and experiences you've had with the parks, you're still an AFOL.
Absolutely.
And you build amazing things, and I like the variety of things you build. You build everything from like cute little fun, like quirky vignettes all the way up to giant models. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about some of the recent things you've been working on as an AFOL.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this is my Lego studio, so you can see part of what I have, on display here. The being a fan of Lego never goes away. I mean, I know some people, maybe there's a dark ages or something happens, but it's just, it's fun, it's creative, it's an outlet. For me, it's not. I mean, yes, it is a children's toy. That's its main design and focus, but it's an artistic medium. It's like paint. It's like clay. It's something that it's just so relaxing and enjoyable to spend time creating something on my brain and making it real in bricks. I do have a tendency to build weird stuff. I'm not your typical builder, I guess you would say. I don't do spaceships. I don't do, vehicles. I don't do a lot of the kind of cool stuff that, so many other builders out there do, and it's phenomenal work, but like, I just, I guess my mind is wired somewhat differently. So I do have a tendency to build big, if at all. I do a lot of architectural, a lot of history. One of the projects I've been working on for several years, it'll probably never be done, but it's doing Coney Island from Brooklyn, New York, from like the turn of the 19th century.
Which is gorgeous.
So I have a few buildings, which you really can't see. They're kind of buried by stuff, but it's going to be probably an 8-foot by 20-foot layout when it's all done, with working rides and lights and the seaside and the beach and the pier. And so I've, slowly, bit by bit been adding pieces to it. I have no places to display it because it's so large, but someday I'll get there. But one of the bigger pieces I've just finished is right behind me, which, there's any Disney fans out there, it's the It's a Small World ride.
Amazing.
California. I had a smaller version of this at Bricks LA last January. Mm-hmm. And I did it really quickly in about a week. And it was only about a third of what you see right now.
You wait, you did what I saw at Bricks LA, what I saw at the last show. You did that in a week?
Yes.
Oh, mind blowing.
That's well, I built the original part with the clock tower right here. Mm-hmm. That I built a couple weeks prior, and I knew I was going to build it and do something with it, but I was like, I just got to do it. Time's ticking. If it wasn't for last minute, they wouldn't get anything done ever. So I had some marathon 3-4 day building sessions to try and get something done, but it wasn't complete enough to me. I wanted to, elevate it. I want to have the track where the boats ride in. I want to have the trains that go behind it, which you can kind of see that great Disney train set that I've incorporated that into it now. I've added much more facades behind it, and it's a very complex building. There's way a lot more going on than you would maybe look at first glance. But there's a little history for this for me as well, is that I had never been to Disneyland as a kid. I was there when I was a baby, and then I didn't go again until I was in my 30s. And so, but I've always been an artist. If not just always with Lego, I always sketch and draw, and always was very artistic as a kid. And one of the very first things I ever remember drawing was, we had the Disneyland guidebook that we had got on the trip when I was a baby. And I remember at age 4 or 5 years old, looking through it and seeing this picture of the Small World facade and just being absolutely fascinated by it. And I would try and draw it and recreate it at that age. And that's the very first thing I could ever remember trying to draw. And so for me, that's kind of why I wanted to build in bricks and kind of come full circle of that history. Because I know for a ride, it's kind of a love it or hate it. I love it. It's so optimistic. It's so goofy and visually stunning. And it's something that I ride every time I'm there. If you hate the song, it gets stuck in your brain. But, the optimist in me just says, let's just do it and have fun.
Well, there's also, on top of it being an interesting ride, there's so much history behind it, and the Mary Blair inspiration behind all of the facades and
the history is pretty interesting. When the park opened in 1955, it was not there. This was originally designed for the 1964 World's Fair in New York.
Right.
Walt Disney, being the shrewd businessman, creative genius, but also a very good businessman, said, well, why would I pay for my rides to be designed if I could have somebody else pay for them? So they developed the Carousel of Progress, the Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln, which was the first use of animatronics, and then this ride, which was sponsored by Pepsi. And it was at the World's Fair. They paid for all the development, with the caveat that when the World's Fair was done, they would dismantle it and they would send it to Disneyland and be installed there. But they didn't have the facade that you see here or in the park. They had this very plain kind of mid-century modern building that was housed in, and they had this beautiful tower called the Tower of the Four Winds, which was on the outside. It was very similar in style to geometric patterns and white and gold and a lot of spinny things. And that was the kind of the entry point into the ride. But after the World's Fair was done, rather than save it, they just bulldozed it over and pushed it into the Hudson River, where it lays underwater, rusting to this day.
Wow.
But the other thing you mentioned was Mary Blair,
Mhm.
and she was one of the first female Imagineers, which, I mean, talk about creative geniuses. I mean,
Absolutely.
her use of pattern and color and shape, it's phenomenal. If you ever see, look up her work, her concept art for it. It's just stunning.
And everything else that she's created.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But this is definitely her piece of resistance, or no,
Absolutely.
not the piece of resistance. I
The
said
piece
no.
of resistance, yes. For all us Lego fans.
Yeah, I'm not very
Well,
good.
that's an amazing, I mean, that's just an amazing model that you've built there. And I think it's so cool that you have been continually adding to it and, modifying it and making it what you want it. So do you feel like it's done now?
It is done to the point where I'm ready to get some pictures of it and put it online soon. The only thing I haven't done yet is I need to make some boats, the ride vehicles. There was a guy I met through Jomino. We did a presentation for a BrickCon up in Seattle, where this brilliant guy, I think it goes by TJ John, on Flickr, and he makes these brilliant ride vehicles of Disney rides, like the Toad ride, the Dumbo ride, the adventure boats, and he did a almost perfect small world boat that goes on there, and it's the right size and everything. So I'm like, hey, cousin, any chance I can part of your design there? But I need to reach out to him because I don't want to copy anyone else's design, obviously, without the permission. But it really is perfect and would fit really nicely in here. So I have that.
Awesome. Well, that kind of worked out perfectly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
So,
excellent. So you've
yeah,
also,
I like to have some motors and have some of the things spin, and maybe put some lights on it down the road. But as far as the build's concerned, I consider it to be done.
so then at Christmas, do you put all the different colors and lights on there? Just like, no, no, we're not going to do that. That's a little crazy.
I'm really good at building things to make things look pretty, but when it comes to actually giving them functionality, that's not my wheelhouse.
Totally understood. And that's okay. There's all sorts of different builders and models.
Exactly. When it comes to Technic and motors, my brain kind of shuts down, and like, I can make it look pretty, but don't expect it to actually do anything.
That's why we have collaborations. So then you find somebody else who's really good at that and you build
Absolutely.
with them. So that's not the only, I mean, you've built some really large things, but you also really do some amazing smaller work. Things like your Rose Parade float. That's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
you
Oh, hey, you have it.
can kind of see up on the shelf. Let's see if I put my finger to. Yeah, that's. Yeah, and you can look at all this stuff on my Instagram. It's Parks and Rec Creations. It's yeah, I did the Pasadena Rose Parade float. Since we were at Bricks LA and it's in Pasadena, and that's what they're most known for, is the Rose Parade. I thought it'd be kind of cool to give a little homage to their local event. So that was a fun one to do. Have a little marching band that goes with everything and does all that kind of stuff.
I thought it was a brilliant build. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at how many different types of builds you have there. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, thanks. Well, when I was at the park as a model builder, the one thing that I kind of seemed to gravitate towards as projects that were assigned to me would be more of the sculptural models, which is using bricks to make a 3D sculptural shape. And then, that's, if you ever want to learn how to be a Legoland master model builder, this is how you start.
It always starts with balls.
Make a round rolling sphere out of nothing but the square and rectangular Lego pieces. Once you figure out how to do this, then it unlocks the kind of mental thinking you need to make more elaborate, complex structures. I actually ended up doing a training program for a lot of the master model builders in the park, where you would start with a ball, and then we'd move on to a modified sphere like an egg or a light bulb or a balloon.
Yeah.
And then from that, then you would do a very simple cartoon character, kind of like a Mickey Mouse or a Family Guy or something like that. And then from there, the final project after this 4 weeks intensive training program was to do a bust of a character that you wanted. So over here I have Carmen Miranda, the old kind of 1940s, 50s actress. There's a geisha from Japan. And then they could pick whoever they wanted. It'd always be some sort of celebrity or character, and then they'd have a full week to prototype it and figure it out. And that's usually when I'd break the spirit of most of the builders, because it is really complex, to get the human face and all the different contours and shapes and forms. And I would always warn people, like, don't pick somebody handsome, get somebody like me with, a big nose, big melon head, something, because when you're attractive, you pixelate it so much into brick that it's really hard to get it to look like what it's supposed to look like. So you need an exaggerated nose or bug eyes or something to give it that character. And so people would be like, they pick the wrong person and they'd be like, I can't do this. It doesn't look like them. It's like, it's just a training exercise. It's all good. It's a learning process. This one might not be so good, but the next one after that would be even better. So that was always fun. Always a good time.
Very cool. Yeah, that seems really challenging. But what a great way to introduce people, introduce the master model builders to those styles of techniques. So you mentioned Mickey Mouse a minute ago.
Yeah, Mickey's kind of back in this corner here.
Yeah, so you mentioned Mickey, and I know you've done these amazing Mickey Mouse models.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a Disney nerd. Being a Lego nerd, I'm also a Disney nerd. So I made Mickey Mouse probably well over 10 years ago. The first time I displayed it was up in Seattle. Mm-hmm. I think the first time I went to BrickCon. And then recently I did a Minnie Mouse, which you can kind of see between the kangaroo and the Statue of Liberty. So that's a newer model.
Awesome.
This one's black and white. So I'll be doing Mickey Mouse in black and white as well. To have together kind of a 1920s, 30s original cartoon type style. So it's just kind of fun to play around with it. And Mickey was lonely after 10 years being he and his girlfriend. And as a matter of fact, Mickey just had his birthday. He just turned 92. And everyone's like, hey, it's Mickey Mouse's birthday. Today was the first day he made his premiere on Steamboat Willie, but people always forget Minnie Mouse premiered the same day as he did. So, they're both 92 years old. And
that's amazing. And it's so cool. I love the display you did with the cake and the mice. Very cool. Very cool. So it's very clear that you build things that you are passionate about and that you are interested in. Where, it's hard to say just where do you get your inspiration, but like, you gave us a great backstory on the small world, that had a very personal connection to you. So kind of, I'm assuming the same thing for Mickey and things like that. But, do you just kind of think, oh, that would be fun to build and you want to challenge yourself to build it? Or do you have to have like a connection to it, an emotional connection to what you're building?
I'd say I have an emotional connection to almost every model I make. It's it is an art and it's fun, but like if I wasn't really into it, like it would be hard to find the time to do it. Like I don't want it to be work. I want it to be enjoyable. I'm inspired. I mean, as an artist, I'm inspired by everything around me. But history, art, architecture. I love all those things, and so I see those things and think, well, how could I make that Lego? That would be really cool and fun. So that's kind of where it starts, And
Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters.
Exactly. And that wasn't even a build. That was the Lego hidden side.
It was a modified.
But it's like the movie That Thing You Do by Tom Hanks, and
mm-hmm.
Here they have a shrimp shack, and we have the little Navy sailor guy, and just kind of a nice little mashup to.
It was perfect. When I saw that on your feed, I was like, this is the most perfect build that you could do with that. Like, it's just out of control perfect. So.
Well, I mean, I'm really into like nostalgia and retro, mid-century modern, any of those kind of aesthetics, in film and TV, I'm always really drawn to. And so I'm trying to, some of my builds lean towards that. Kind of like, the Lego modular buildings, which, the whole series is phenomenal and the fans do some amazing work. But I've done one where it's a gingerbread house.
And it's amazing.
Thank you.
That's probably, honestly, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love your bigger models. The gingerbread house, I could just look at all day long and just smile on my face.
Well, but I actually have a little series working. Like I have, of course, like many builders, I have a to-do list of potential projects that, is longer than my arm. But I wanted to expand on the gingerbread house by adding more, what I would consider non-traditional modular.
Like a gingerbread mansion?
No, I'm doing a tiki bar modular. I'm doing like an Italian restaurant modular.
No, don't tell everybody. Tiki bar was on our list, so now we don't have to do it because I know you're going to do it.
Well, you can still do it too. There's more than one tiki bar.
Let's share some ideas.
And that's where I pull my love of old architecture and, that'd be really cool to make. And, I've done some tiki stuff in the past, very small scale, but that's where I think, it'd be kind of fun to, play with it and do something new. And, of course, when I have an idea, generally once I think it through a little bit and think, that could be something really cool to build. First thing I do is I go Google and I search that plus Lego and see if anyone else has done it. because a lot of times, I mean, I guess great minds think alike. So many people have the same ideas and they've already built it, and in many cases built it better than I could build it. So once I see it, like, okay, that's phenomenal, there's no point in me trying, so I'll cross that off the
Well, it
list.
sort of satisfies you're like, I needed to see that in Lego. Now I've seen it.
Yeah,
I'll move on to my next project.
exactly. So that's why I think most of my projects are a little more obscure and non-traditional compared to a lot of builds. you know I enjoy them, and they are fun to do.
So you were talking about when you start a project, when you do start, you have this idea of something you want to make. Do you just kind of start building and playing with it and roughing it out in Lego, physically, or do you like building a digital model first, or do you sketch it out? What kind of, how did you say no digital?
No technology for this old man. When I start working on a project, I generally sit and think about it. I'll look online and look at reference photos. Sometimes I'll do a couple little thumbnail sketches in a sketchbook, but really I just kind of think it through my brain of how could that be in Lego? How can this work? How can this, what part would I use for this to get a certain effect? And then by the time I actually get to my bricks, it's 90% thought out. And then it's just a matter of dumping out the bricks and building it until it gets there. And usually I just get it on the first attempt.
Wow.
Every once in a while I'll tear something apart and rebuild it, make it a little better and try to improve on it. But generally, no, I kind of hit the ground running.
That's amazing. So when you're dumping those bricks out, are they sorted by color or shape?
Yes.
Ah, both.
Oh, I'm very OCD. I mean, not to, I know it's terrible to say that because it's a real, mental illness, and, mine's probably a very mild case, but every part has to have its own place. I have in part and color and shape and everything else. So as you can kind of see here, here's my dark orange.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Divided by, this is the color, these are the parts, this is brick, the next tray over is plate. All special elements, get their own bin and a series of containers behind you. I'll have like a tub where it's all gray roof bricks, another tub all white roof bricks. And then the smaller the part, round 1x1s or 2x2 rounds, they get their own bin, a little drawer, and then just get smaller and smaller. So there's very few pieces I'll mix together. If it's one type of part and it's a very small quantity, they'll be mixed by color, but for the most part, it's all almost set up like the Legoland model shop would be. I got used to that system.
Gee, I wonder why.
I mean, hunting and pecking is just, you can't be efficient. And, when you build the scale I build, you need to know where the parts are and be able to build it fast. So I can take, if I know this thing's gonna be in tan, I put, one tray of bricks here, another tray of bricks here, maybe some tubs of the other random bricks around me, and, I can just reach them, and they're always at arm's length.
Very cool. So speaking of scale, the scale you build at, do you have any sort of a dream project? Like if money were no object, brick is no object, you can get anything you need. What would be do you have like I would love to build this?
Well, I think the Lego Coney Island is up there with that, because it's, maybe 10% of where it needs to be right now.
Oh, wow.
It's, I've done a couple of the smaller rides, I've done a couple of the small pavilions, but it's just, the research to make it authentic to the time period. I have to kind of know the inside and out. I have to do layouts. I have to raise everything up so there's room for wiring, because every light has to have, every building has to have colored lights on it. There's gonna be sound effects. Then the vehicles and the rides are gonna be motorized, which again, like I said, that's not my strong suit. So it's really, that's my passion project. I've been working on and off for 10 years, and it's probably got another 10 plus years to it until I have something to show.
But you're already working on your dream project. That's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, where I don't really do like spaceships and that kind of stuff. I think I would like to do a spaceship.
You've mentioned spaceships a couple times. I think we need to challenge you to make a spaceship.
Well, you hear about September, and it's like 100
100
studs long ship, and that's huge. That's massive. I think, well, I should try that. That could be fun. But I'm also absolutely terrified of failing miserably at it and having to be just an absolute mess.
But that's okay. You don't have to post a picture of that one. You build another one.
Exactly. But I mean, you see the stuff people do, and they're just so amazing. And you're just like, why even try? Because I can never be even close to what some people have done.
Bill, you're one of those people. Not for ships.
But you always, and that's, as an artist, I'm always trying to learn new things. And the last year, I've really been working on my art and trying to grow a little bit outside my comfort zone.
You're way too humble. I think you're an amazing artist, and everybody I know thinks you're an amazing artist. So
But
Thank you
I'm
for sharing it
as
with us.
artists go, we're always filled with doubt and insecurity, and I'm no exception to that. Um, when it comes to my artwork, I'm very much I can do cartooning, very quick sketch, character-based stuff, and that comes very easily to me. But I've never done portraiture. I've never done landscapes. I've never done painting. So I've really tried to learn a lot of that the last few months, and then trying to kind of take baby steps into that kind of thing. So, you're never too young to learn. You're never too, it's never too late to try something new. You know,
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to Lego. I mean, if I were to ever encourage younger builders out there, like, oh yeah, it'd be really cool to build like you do, but I'm no good. It's like, well, I wasn't that good at that age either. I look back at pictures of the models I sent to Legoland back in 1997, and I just laugh at them about how horrible they are. I look at my concept art I did before when I first started doing art direction for the parks, and it was terrible. I mean, it was good enough at the time to do what I was doing to get me where I was at, but like, you know, the only way to grow as an artist is to practice and keep doing it. You have to fail before you can succeed, and that's the thing, is just keep building. Look online, see what other people do. Talk to artists, talk to the other builders, and help. They're always happy to give advice and suggestions of what you can do to improve your work. So there are some people out there who, teenagers who pick up bricks and make the most amazing, stunning creations. And you're like, okay, how did you do that when you're like 13 years old? I'm pushing 50 and I'm still trying to do what you're doing. So everyone learns at different levels, and everyone learns at different speeds, and just keep doing it.
Well, I think that's fantastic advice. So my last question is, first of all, thank you for all of your time, but where can people find out more information about you or what you've been building? Do you have anywhere they can follow you
Yeah,
online?
I mean, I'm on Facebook, of course. I post some stuff there, but the majority of the Lego stuff on my artwork is on Instagram. I have a Instagram account called Parks and Wrecked Creations, not Recreations like the show, but Wrecked as in WRECKED Creations, because as a park designer and someone who has a tendency to smash my models and I'm not happy, I wreck my creations a lot. So,
It's
but
very clever.
I've been updating a lot, and there's always new stuff at least once a week coming up. And of course, because I do build a larger scale, it may not be updates every day, but I'm trying to get into the habit of smaller builds and quick things and fun little small stuff you can put on. Because I mean, that's the beauty about Lego is, yes, I have this big giant Lego room full of every part you can ever imagine. I can make big stuff out of it, but you don't need a collection this big to build cool stuff. I mean, there's I think the snowflake challenge is on Instagram right now that everyone's doing, and you don't need a lot of parts to make a really cool model. It's just your imagination, and that's the only limitation you have. Build with what you have, and over time and a lot of money, eventually the parts come too. But you don't need anything more than a bucket of bricks to get started.
Absolutely. That is fantastic advice for anyone of any age looking to reignite their Lego passion. Thank you so much for joining us, Bill. That was amazing. And we appreciate all the work you've done in the parks, and we appreciate all the models that you bring to conventions. And we can't wait to see what you do next.
Yeah, thank you.